sons and daughters.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Aurora Smedley podcast, where I speak with you about what the world needs to hear. And in today's episode, I'm going to be discussing where creativity comes from, where inspiration comes from. So earlier on in my musical journey, I came across a number of different perspectives that sounded semi-mystical in relation to creativity. And I found this quite confusing, and I didn't really buy into any of it. At the time, I was really a rationalist materialist. I didn't believe in any of this spiritual stuff. And so I really didn't have any concept for where the music comes from, where inspiration comes from, really what any of this is really about. But as I have written more music, as I have had spiritual experiences, I have become more attuned to where the creativity, where the inspiration actually comes from. I'm going to discuss what I've read in a number of different places, what I've heard in a number of different places, and also compare this to my own personal experience and link this to what I actually feel is the source of quote unquote creativity. So let's start with, many of you are familiar with the book The War of Art by Steven Pressfield. And in The War of Art, which it's an amazing book, I will say that he talks about how, according to the ancient Greeks, they did not feel that artists were geniuses. Instead, they felt that artists have a genius, and a genius is a spirit that hangs out with the artist and essentially communicates to the artist all of the masterpieces, all of the works. So basically, this spirit is chilling with the artist and whispering in the artist's ear the opuses, the albums, the songs, the plays, the movies. It is giving the artist the ideas. And then in the book Big Magic, which is by the same author as Eat, Pray, Love, she speaks to there being instances where a poem, for example, is trying to get into this world, so the poet actually wrote the poem backwards onto the page, and it was because she was channeling this poem idea that came through her. So what I've found from my personal experience and from my spiritual practice is that I feel that all of creativity, all of music, all of this really comes from a greater universal intelligence, which transmits this energy, this information to us. Some who are more Christian-minded might call this God. In Hinduism, this is called Brahman. In my dialogue, I refer to this as the universe. And so in our connection with the universe, we are able to channel the artwork through us. That it is really the universe that is the infinite source of all creativity. And we are just its cute little puppets. That we are its instruments in the physical world as it is trying to express itself through us, and as we collaborate with it to express what wants to be expressed through us. So the creative act is really about this relationship to the universe. It's about this relationship to all that is. It's about this relationship to everything that is, and how all of the music, all of the masterpieces, all of the everything exists out there in the infinite form of universal consciousness already. So our role as an artist is less so to be the epic genius and creator of all the masterpieces, but rather to develop ourselves as an instrument of the universe so that the universe can transmit what it wants to through us. So in other words, I feel that the work as an artist is to develop yourself as a channel so that you can open yourself up to be a conduit for that information reaching our physical reality. So you can think of this as a potentiate reality. If this is like all of the consciousness, all of the knowledge, all of the everything that exists out there, when you connect to that, it enables you to reach the quote unquote inspiration that creates the art that is compelling, that creates the performance that is compelling, that creates the play or the masterpiece that is compelling. So really what we're doing as artists is preparing ourselves to do that. And I do feel that as you take actions to do your art, the universe will send you more ideas. It's kind of like there's this queue in the universe of all of these songs and ideas that want to come into this physical reality. And they're waiting at the doors of all of these artists. And when you write one song, then another song can move up in its place in line so that it can be knocking at your door instead. So let's say that there's 1,000 songs that want to come through you. I'm using songs as the example because I'm a musician, right? So there's 1,000 songs that want to come through you. And when you write one, when you produce one, when you release one of those, then the next song in line comes into the front of the queue and starts knocking on the door, trying to get into this physical reality. So I've used this metaphor many times of there's almost like this door from that reality to this reality, and the songs will come knocking. It's almost like these songs are door-to-door salespeople where the song will come and knock at this artist's door and knock at that artist's door, waiting to get in, waiting for somebody to open the door to let them in. And so the song knocks at this door, the song knocks at the other person's door, the song might go visit 100 different doors, and then finally you open the door and let it in to this physical reality. So then that's how it comes through to this side. I've spoken in a previous episode about this idea of the artistic funnel as well. And this is kind of what I was referring to as far as this queue of these songs that are trying to come through to this reality or works or whatever it is. If you're a visual artist, this might be a painting. If you are a writer, this might be poems, this might be stories, this might be novels, could be screenplays, whatever it is, these works are knocking at your door trying to get in. And so there's this queue or there's this funnel that you kind of have to open the door, open up the flow so that these entities can start becoming realized in physical reality. So, for instance, you open the door to one song and the song comes out, and then the flow gets stopped because the universe sees that you're not releasing the songs. But then you release the song and suddenly you have this outpouring of new creative work. So I feel that both the creational process, the finishing process, and the release process for any song enables you to open up the flow between quote unquote the universe and you. It is the opening up the channel, the funnel, the conduit between you and all that exists. Something else that I've found is that some songs, in fact, most songs, seem to have their own consciousness. They have their own personality. They have almost like their own way of being and existing in the world, and also their own way of coming into physical reality. I've found that some songs will come in and just barge into physical reality. It'll just be like, it is my time. And as soon as you open the door, the song is running through the door to get onto the page, running through the door to get onto the piano, and just barging through so that it can become realized as quickly as possible. Whereas other songs will take their time. They'll kind of stick their toe through the door. They'll wait a little bit before they fully come through. They'll think about whether they want to come through. They'll stick their arm through, and then they'll pull their arm back, and then they'll stick their toe through, and you'll be like, what is going on with this song? And then maybe you have to wait for a month to coax this song through the door, or wait for a year as this song coyly semi steps through the door and then slowly edges its way through the door. So this is essentially what it's like when you are producing songs, what this actual process is like as you are letting these songs into physical reality. And to elaborate on this, I've had some people ask me, do I write lyrics first? Do I write lyrics first, or do I write music first? You know what I mean? Like, which one comes first? I've done both, though I will say the music usually comes first for me. I hear the melody, and then I start to place the melody on, or I start to place words on top of the melody. It does feel like channeling, because it's like dun, 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 dun. And then I'll start putting syllables onto the melody, and then as I put syllables onto the melody, it becomes a word, it becomes a lyric, it becomes a story that emerges from this melody. Right. I think every individual has a different way that they go about their songwriting process, or their writing, or whatever it happens to be. I think different people have different processes around it, and all of these processes are valid, and sometimes it's worthwhile changing the process so that you grow and expand yourself, so that you kind of push your edges to see if it's going to shift the way that songs or work show up in your life. I will say, though, that something that I've noticed is that when you show up, you put in the work, you devote time to developing your craft, more ideas will come to you. It's almost as if the universe wants to see that you are putting in the work, that you are being present, that you are showing up at the desk, at the piano, at the whatever it is, at the easel. And as you continue to do those things, more and more inspiration and ideas and support from the universe are going to show up for you as you go about this process. So I've touched on a number of different things here. Like I said, I've touched on completion. I've touched on literally just creating something in order to begin the flow. I've talked about release, how release enables you to allow musical works to come through, to allow creative works to come through. I've spoken about our relationship to all that is, and allowing the inspiration from all that is to open up the door, the funnel, the conduit to these creative inspirations to come in and become and move through us to come into this physical reality. And I've also spoken about showing up and doing the work, because as we show up and do the work, we are demonstrating to these entities that we are prepared to welcome them into this physical reality, that we have the tools, the skills, and the know-how to bring them in, to midwife them from the other side. So another thing, that all of these songs, all of these entities, they have different personalities. And so because of that, I have to relate to the song in the way that it wants to be related to. So I've spoken this to a number of different people, that I feel that as a songwriter, I'm almost less of a songwriter and more like a song mom, where I have all these songs. They each has a different personality. Each has a different way that is best for it to be brought up, that some of these songs respond better to this, other songs respond better to me just letting it sit there, some songs want me to just like just work at them for days and weeks until they come into reality. Moreover, making decisions musically about where the beat lands, what part of the phrase is emphasized, how I'm singing the lyrics, these decisions really have to come through based off of what the song is asking for. Some songs are going to ask for different things than others. Some are going to want a lighter touch. Some are going to want to be gentle. Some are going to want to be more forceful or assertive. And so we need to kind of allow the song to decide what it wants to become, what it wants to be when it grows up. So in this way, the relationship that I have with songs now is a bit more like a gardener or somebody growing a bonsai than somebody building a house. I feel like with a house, you have a specific intention and you have a specific design in mind, and then you build the house based off of that design framework. But what I've found to be more effective as I create songs, and this is just my opinion. This is how I do things. What I have found is that I feel that it's more helpful to work with songs like they are bonsais, like I am a gardener growing and cultivating these bonsais where the tree has its own intention. The tree has its own way, its own shape that it naturally has. And so I need to work with the shape of that tree. I need to work with that particular species of tree in order to collaborate with it in creating some sort of creative output, some creative result, that my intentions need to be translated through the actual organic truth of what the essence of that tree is. Some songs are going to want to be more upbeat, and that is just what the song needs. So even if I want it to be a slow song, even if I intended to create a slow, chill song, if the song wants to be silly and fun, then I need to allow the song to be silly and fun, and I can work with it to create some aspect of my vision. However, the essence of the song is that it has its own creative vision for itself, and I am simply supporting it in realizing its own creative vision. So with that, I know that this will be excellent food for thought for you. I know many of you are artists in some capacity, and so I look forward to your thoughts and reflections on this podcast in relation to your own creative practice. So once again, thank you for your time with me, and I appreciate you liking and following and connecting with me through the comments, and I look forward to seeing you in the next podcast.